Hey, it's John here at Primal Woods and Be Your Biology, and today I wanted to share on the subjects of tribe and community. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've heard all I want to hear about tribe, and probably as much about community, and I couldn't agree more. These are a couple of the most overused and abused terms in the English language, at least when it comes to social media. So, I want to put this in some context. So, community, and by extension, I guess I'll say tribe, is important to us. I mean, our purpose is to deliver value and to promote health and generosity, as individuals, in our community, and in our life's work. And that life's work happens to be Primal Woods. So, community is clearly a part of our business. I mean, Primal Woods is the vehicle for the attainment of that purpose, and we try in everything we're doing in Primal Woods to bring community to our business. So, what are tribe and community? And I'm going to go with a definition out of the book Tribe, which I've mentioned in a number of different spaces, and I'll lean on it heavily today. A book by Sebastian Junger. But he basically defines it as small groups defined by a common understanding and purpose. So in our case, of course, we've documented our purpose. But by that definition, a small group with a common understanding and a purpose, I'd argue most of us are probably not a part of a tribe. You certainly, on a large scale, it's unlikely that your purpose and your understanding is going to be totally aligned with other quote unquote tribe members. So I think, some of us may be lucky enough to be a part of a tribe. Most of us are not. Now, in the Paleolithic, which this is kind of when tribe evolved, a tribe was maybe 500 people. That was made up of 20 to 25 smaller bands, and each of those bands included 20 to 25 individuals. So that small band, the 20 to 25, that's sometimes referred to as a kinship or a clan. That was the group of people you'd be touching every day. The bands would spread out because they needed, obviously, to sustain themselves with respect to food, water, and so on. And that's harder to do when you have 500 people grouped together than it is when the bands would spread out. Now they would come back together for such reasons as reproduction, also for celebration, to exchange ideas, and maybe even some trade goods. So that's the structure and size of tribe that people are so often referring to. And of course, this held right up through what's called the upper Paleolithic, the late stages of the Stone Age here in North America. So how did these tribes come about? Okay, it is or was a sociocultural, and I talked about that in my last piece on environment. It's a sociocultural or behavioral adaptation that made us more fit, made us better able to survive and reproduce. So not all adaptations are necessarily in our DNA, although DNA can seep in to support a behavioral adaptation. So originally, this adaptation came about because we were more successful. We were better able to survive and reproduce when we cooperated. So that's what it was about. What is not a tribe? I think it's important to distinguish between what's a tribe, what's not a tribe, in my view. In my view, these United States are not a tribe. I'm sorry, 330 million people are not a tribe. It's not a community. Same thing would go for the several states inside these United States. These are huge combinations of people, the vast majority of whom you've never met, you never will meet. You're not aligned in terms of your understanding or your purpose. Even the rural county we live in, here in southwest Michigan, has 75,000 residents. That's 20 times the total size of the Potawatomi tribe pre-European conquest of North America. So none of these things, these governmental entities, divisions that we've broken up as part of our society, count as tribe, in my opinion. More that doesn't count as tribe, your million Instagram followers or your 1,000 Facebook friends, etc. Same drill. You're not connected to these people. You're not close. If you're lucky, you got 4 or 5 really tight friends in this world. And then family, which probably gets you maybe out to that 20, 25 number that's a kinship, if you're lucky. So what did these tribes and bands look like? Like I said, the bands were 20 to 25 members, really tight kinship. You saw them every day. You were totally interdependent on these people for your very life, which is why the band and the tribe existed in the first place. The tribe then was made up of 20 to 25 of those bands. These tribes and bands were very egalitarian, which is to say they were flat structurally. Societies had not yet stratified. That really came with agriculture, when the ability to sit down in a place and accumulate wealth, grains, domesticated animals, and so on, the first forms of wealth. When the advent of agriculture passed, then you could stratify societies, not in hunter-gatherer societies. I want to quote from Tribe, and this first one's just off the dust jacket. But he says, decades before the American Revolution, Benjamin Franklin lamented that English settlers were constantly fleeing over to the Indians, but Indians almost never did the same. Tribal society has been exerting an almost gravitational pull on Westerners for hundreds of years, and the reason lies deep in our evolutionary past as a communal species. The most recent example of that attraction is combat veterans, who come home to find themselves missing the incredibly intimate bonds of platoon life. And I suppose it's no coincidence that a platoon is roughly the kind of numbers we're talking about with respect to a band in prehistoric societies. The loss of closeness that comes at the end of deployment may help explain the high rates of post-traumatic stress disorder suffered by military veterans today. Of course, he goes on in greater detail in the book, which I highly recommend. And again, I'll put a link to the book in the description. So I think it's also interesting to note there's been quite a few movies kind of on this subject of what I'll loosely call going native. And maybe the most well-known of those is Dances with Wolves. Avatar was, by the admission of the people who made Avatar, a direct knockoff on Dances with Wolves. And then The Last Samurai is another one that's kind of in this genre of white man gone native, if you will. These 3 movies alone grossed over $1.4 billion. So let's just say, whether we're conscious of it or not, there is a draw to even the stories of what Tribe looks like. So why are we so drawn to Tribe? And I think it's simply stated in the subtitle of the book Tribe, which the subtitle is On Homecoming and Belonging. That's huge. Again, from Tribe. There are many costs to modern society, starting with its toll on the global ecosystem and working one's way down to its toll on the human psyche. But the most dangerous loss may be to community. those two things might be one and the same: the loss of community and the loss of our human psyche, or the toll on our human psyche. If the human race is under threat in some way that we don't yet understand, it will probably be at a community level that we either solve the problem or fail to solve the problem. If the future of the planet depends on, say, rationing water, communities of neighbors will be able to enforce new rules far more effectively than even local government. It's how we evolved to exist, and it obviously works. So, how does that show up for us in Primal Woods and in our lives? As I said, Primal Woods is the vehicle by which we expect to attain our purpose. Now I'm going to cite a second book on how this tribe idea, community idea, shows up in our life and our business that is Primal Woods. So here's another great book. It's pretty worn. I've been through it a lot, called Small Giants. And the subtitle is Companies That Choose to Be Great Instead of Big. So, just out of the introduction, so what's the book talking about? The companies in this book do have certain characteristics in common. They are all utterly determined to be the best at what they do. Yet, they have chosen not to focus on revenue growth or geographical expansion, pursuing instead other goals that they consider more important. To make those trade-offs, the companies have had to remain privately owned, with the majority of stock in the hands of one person or a small group of like-minded, read that, common understanding, common purpose. A small group of like-minded individuals, or in a couple of cases, the employees. And then, going on, the shareholders who own the business in this book have other non-financial priorities in addition to their financial objectives. Not that they don't want to earn a good return on investment, but it's not their only goal, or even necessarily their paramount goal. They're also interested in being great at what they do, creating a great place to work, providing great customer service, having great relationships with their suppliers, making great contributions to the communities they live and work in, and finding great ways to lead their lives. In short, it shows up as achievement of our purpose. And we've chosen Primal Woods as the vehicle that will take us there. And if you want to read more about businesses like this that we aspire to be, you can read the book Small Giants. Again, I'll put a link down in the description. So then the question is, well, what's your purpose? And how will you build or become a part of a tribe that you share an understanding with and that you share a purpose with? It's important. Purpose is important. It's important to your contentment in life. It's important to developing this tribe, which is important to your psyche. And if you want more on what the absence of tribe gives rise to, you really need to read the book Tribe by Sebastian Junger. So I'll leave it at that. If you want more of this sort of thing, again, subscribe to Primal Woods or Be Your Biology on Facebook. You can check us out at primalwoods.com. Also have an Instagram, primal_woods. And we hope to hear from you soon. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Thanks for watching.